So, for example, you're at work and there's someone new there, and this new person is causing trouble and actually was quite rude to you. And you felt the sting of it. You didn't like it one bit. And in the moment of that stinging sensation, you launched a rocket of desire. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 or 20 or 30 or 40. In other words, a lot happens in an encounter. So your rocket says, I want to get along. Your rocket says, I want to be happy at work. Your rocket says, I want this person not to be rude to me. Your rocket says, I don't want to be rude back. In other words, you just launched a series of rockets because of this one encounter. And the source within you, having lived the experience with you, rode the rocket of your greatest desire. The desire is pure, no matter how you feel about it when it is born. And source then became that expanded being because of what you just lived. Source became more loving, more considerate, more aware of work, more determined to live a good life. In other words, all of the things that happened in that moment, Source instantly became. And then doesn't say to you, now you need to catch up. Source just bees it. Just bees it. Just bees the expanded version of you and offers a signal more powerful than the current of any river, we promise you. So now, you have become that. And if you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on, then you will turn with the direction of that current and you would flow right along and you would become that yourself in that moment. That's what we call going with the flow. And in doing so, you would feel your sting go away. You would feel your discomfort go away. You would feel your hatred go away. You would feel your feeling of being put down go away. You would feel your feeling of resistance go away as you would morph into the expanded being that you have just become. But if you're more determined to be right than to feel good, you might be beating the drum of how wrong this person was. You might even be looking for another co-worker that had been equally wronged. You might be looking for justification for the sensation in your belly. Now, you want a justification for the sensation in your belly because at every fiber of your being knows something has gone terribly wrong. In other words, you can feel, whether you are accustomed to Abraham's terminology or not, you're not going with the flow. You just diverged from the path that is truly you in your anger. And the longer you beat that drum of the inappropriateness of this person, the more you hold yourself vibrationally apart from the way source energy feels about this person. Source loves this person. When you love this person, you go with the flow. If you find something less than love, you're not going with the flow. Source loves you. If you love you, you're going with the flow. If you're embarrassed about something you've done, you're not going with the flow. In other words, when you go with the flow of Source, you feel wonderful. And we really want to remind you that in the moment that you turn in the direction of that flow, you feel wonderful. So going with the flow, the operative word or the sensation that you're wanting to reach for to determine whether you're going with the flow or against it, is that when you go with the flow, you have sensations of relief. When you're going against the flow, it's the opposite feeling. Jerry and Esther have been noticing this week as they've been, so joyful, doing their work, working on a new book, editing tapes in a lovely park in beautiful trees, taking walks by a stream, listening to the birds. They have been in a tuned in, tapped in, turned on mode for days and days and days. And from this feeling of near connection all the time, the slightest little compliment just sends them into orbit. The slightest little bird chirping outside their window just puts them over the edge. The music that they hear through their stereo system gives them orgasms. In other words, the sensation of ecstasy ecstasy, they did not realize how on the verge of it they were until one thing after another is taking them over the top. And so what we're saying is, as they are already in a really good feeling place, when they turn and go with the flow, oh boy, does it feel good. In other words, when you go with the flow after having been going with the flow really, really feels good. But if you are in despair and you turn and go with the flow, it's not ecstasy, it's not bouncing off the wall enthusiasm, it's not joyous rapture, but it sure feels better than what you were just doing. And friends, it's just as good in the relative sense that we're wanting you to talk about, because... And here's the thing that we want you to get, more than all other things put together. Have we said that 5 or 10 times already? This is the thing. No, this is the thing. No, it's this. No, it's this. This is it. This really is it. This is the thing. You're going to want to write this down. This is the most important thing that you will ever acknowledge anytime, anywhere. I am where I am. Good, wasn't it? I am where I am. In other words, so what does it matter where I am when from where I am I have the ability to go anywhere I want to be? Anywhere I want to be. It only feels urgent or awful to say I am where I am if you don't understand or believe that from where you are you can get to wherever you want to be. I am where I am. And from where I am, as I turn in the direction of that which I have become, and I relax and go with the flow, I can get to wherever I want to be from wherever I am, no exceptions. And today we'll be talking about that on any subjects that are important to you. So, a very significant thing to acknowledge is that where I am, right where I am, I'm launching rockets. And the thing that is most important to understand is that from where you are, you're also launching relative rockets. In other words, you have been amassing a magnificent future. And so your vibrational escrow has become something incredibly wonderful for you. But your relationship with that vibrational escrow is never, ever far apart. And it is never, ever impossible. Can you imagine, as Jerry and Esther are traveling from Phoenix to San Diego, it's about 400 miles and they know the way, head west and keep going. They never get out there in the desert at the halfway point and get so unhappy that they're not yet in San Diego, that they lose their minds, that they lose their sense of direction, and in their disorientation go the wrong way. Can you imagine Phoenix, Yuma, Phoenix, Yuma, Phoenix, Yuma, Phoenix, Yuma, Phoenix, Yuma? And under those conditions, they might announce that San Diego is an impossible dream. They might say San Diego is incurable. You do that, and it is every bit as ridiculous for you to say, I cannot get to wellness from illness. It is as ridiculous as saying, I cannot get from Phoenix to San Diego. Because all you got to do is get pointed in the right direction and keep going. So the only thing that makes sense why there are people who get sick and don't move toward wellness, or have no money and don't move toward abundance, who find confusion and don't move toward clarity, who have problems and don't move toward solutions, who have questions and don't move toward answers. The only reason that can be is that they have not figured out how to quantify their journey. They haven't figured out how to understand their journey. They haven't figured out how to tell which way is the way they want to go. And we say, oh, how can it be hard when there's this flow? That'd be like getting down to the river and saying, let's see, which way should we go? Like you really have any real choice. In other words, the question that we want to put to you as you put your canoe in the river and paddle it upstream is, how long can you keep that up? And you say, oh, you'd be surprised. I've gotten quite good at this. And we say, but why? Why have you gotten good at struggle and pain and hardship and going about things the hard way? And you say, because it's virtuous and valiant, and I've learned to compare myself with others who are doing it the hard way. We have a club. It's called Humanity. Humanity against allowing. It's called humanity. Humanity that goes against the flow in our quest for the mark on the chart of our virtue. And we say, but how long can you keep that up? And you say, oh, you'd be surprised. And we say, frankly, we are. Because it seems to us that it's ever so much more efficient to use the current of your environment, to use the energy that has been set into motion before you got here, to benefit by the generations of asking that have set into motion this powerful stream or current. And when you go with that flow and you allow yourself to be a vibrational match to that current, then you are fulfilling your life in the way that you have intended. Then you are completing your reason for being. Then you are the masterful creator that you have come forth to be. Then you are the joyous being that is the liquid love, that is the source energy that was set into motion even before your physical body was formed in this time-space reality. It is always exhilarating for us to interact with you. And there is nothing in all of the universe that we adore more than hearing the specifics of the things that your life is causing you to want. And we have such an advantage because we are so easily able to see what is being held for you in vibrational escrow. And so, no matter what the subject that you are discussing, we are already privy to the happy ending that you are hoping for. And so every word that we offer, no matter how you hear it, is offered with the intention of helping you to get turned in the direction of your flow and begin moving toward what you are wanting. But there is something that you might find a little unsettling about what we wish for you relative to all of this. Because often you come to these gatherings wishing for tools and processes and methods so that you can get from where you are to where you want to be, to the manifestation that you are seeking, to the lover, to the house, to the car, to the empire, to whatever it is. And we want you to understand that we want all of that for you. And there is not a manifestation that you wish for that we are not equally desirous of you receiving and fulfilling completely. But our real thrill is in seeing you simply turn and go with the flow. Because we know that in the moment that you are able to find the thought that feels best from where you are, in other words, not the best feeling thought you've ever thought, not the best feeling thought that has ever been thought, just the best feeling thought I can find from where I am, we know you've turned and gone with the flow. We also know it's not possible for you to jump from here all the way over to here. It's not possible for you to set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM. They are different frequencies. And so if you are in despair or anger or rage, it is not possible for you to all of a sudden jump into appreciation and love and joy. It is not possible. The frequencies are too far apart. Any more than Jerry and Esther can jump in a moment from Phoenix to San Diego. But we've noticed on their physical journey that once they get pointed in the direction of it, that they feel the ease of going in the right direction, and they begin to enjoy the journey along the way. And this is the thing that we so much want you to begin to reflect on. You have come forth not for the completion of all of these things that you want, because you never get it done. You cannot get it wrong, and you never get it done. And the reason that you cannot get it wrong is because it is never done. In other words, even if it feels wrong right now, it's not done. And in the wrong way that it feels, what you are wanting is shooting out of you like a rocket, and source is becoming one with that rocket. And as you turn and go in the direction of the flow, now you're moving toward what you are wanting. And so, As you make peace with where you are by acknowledging that where you are doesn't mean anything except the starting point from where you are to where you are going. And as you begin to feel the exhilaration of turning and going with the flow, it is our expectation that before very long, really a matter of days, as you consciously apply this, you will begin to understand that you are an eternal being, that you never get it done, that you cannot get it wrong, and that further, you don't want to ever get it done, that you are looking forward to the variety that causes you to want. And there is such an incredible difference in wanting something from a place of understanding that you can get it than wanting something from a place of believing that you can't get it. Oh, what torture that must be. To have your life cause you to give birth to something and to be holding a thought that says, oh yeah, I want it, but I can't have it.